Welcome to the Producer Review Podcast, the premier podcast for aspiring artists and producers. We discuss production, mixing, recording, and review your track submissions. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show. Family, this is Knock Rio, producer, writer, entrepreneur, sometimes rapper, and podcast host for the Producer Review Podcast. This is episode number 3, so I feel good about the direction that we're going in at this point. Getting some good feedback from the listeners, and they're starting to show up and to kind of subscribe and all that, so that makes me happy and very encouraged at this point. The topic that I want to tackle today is the art of getting paid, or at least the idea of getting paid as a producer. The question of should a producer get paid or just give away free beats is widely discussed across the web. Everybody has an opinion on it. There's some unique ways of expressing which side they're for or which side they're against. So I have an opinion as well as the podcast host, and so I'll go ahead and try to put that out there. But in the end, every producer is going to need to decide what their own marketing strategy is going to be and how they intend to get paid. There's a few things that kind of go along or play a part in the decision making. One of those things is location. We'll talk about that a little bit. Skill level is another thing. We also have financial circumstances. For everybody's going to be different. Just about everybody's going to have a different circumstance that they're going through. The level of the artist that's actually requesting the beats actually plays a big part as well. So let's kind of walk down my path for deciphering how and when to get paid up front, or if you're willing to get paid on the back end if necessary. But the first thing I think we ought to tackle is the concept of understanding value. What exactly is value? In a nutshell, value is something that has worth in the eyes of the person that's considering it. So you'll hear sales gurus and people talk about it. They'll talk about building value for a potential buyer. And when you increase the level of the value of the solution that you have, and that it will bring to your client, once you meet that certain threshold, you can definitely ask for a sale. So how do you build value? Number one, by asking questions. So you need to find out what challenge is my buyer facing, because the only reason someone really buys something is because they expect to get something from it. So what are they looking for? What do they want from it? What benefits and features would resolve the challenges that they have in their mind? So as salespeople, sometimes we get caught up in what we want to do or what we're trying to do, and we forget that we're actually getting money from somebody for something that they want or that they need. So we need to find out what their needs are. So once you know the answers, you can sell your product benefits in a way that highlight the features that the customer needs or the client needs. In this case, the artist. Track production is definitely a skill, so it takes time to develop enough skill to be able to sell tracks that provide enough benefit to the artist. So this is the skill level portion of it. The value in the track actually is highly emotional. You think about when we're making music, most of the time when you're listening to music and you like a song, it has something to do with how it makes you feel, right? So if you're selling tracks, then when you're producing that, you've got to think about, how's this going to motivate the artist? What is it going to make the artist feel like? What is the artist going to want to write to this? What kind of emotion is going to come out on the track? Because the emotional tracks are the ones that express the most emotion, actually reach people. So the value is actually in the emotion that drives the end product. If the track lacks that ability to drive emotion, then it's probably not going to sell to any artist. Maybe somebody might buy it, but they may not put it out because they're trying to figure out how they're going to put some emotion to it. So when you're producing, part of what you're doing is choosing sounds that complement one another, and that really bring a certain feeling. If it's bringing two different feelings to the person, then they're going to be a little bit conflicted on how they're supposed to write to it and how they're actually supposed to create a song to it. So now that we understand a little bit about value, without really going into too much depth into it, I know that there's people way smarter than me in that area. We got to consider, what else do we know about things that have value? Valuable things, normally they either have an owner already, or they're going to acquire an owner at some point in time, and that owner is going to definitely protect that object or that idea that has value. So this is where a lot of new producers will struggle because they don't know the value of their own work. Most of the time they see what other people might have got paid, but we still only see a small amount of the work that's done. We don't know across the board what everybody's getting paid for each and every single song. So we're getting bits and pieces of that information. Sometimes it's a lot of money, sometimes it's little. Like Old Town Road was a $30 beat. But if you're talking to Timbaland or something like that, there's tracks that cost $250,000. There's tracks that have been $1 million. I think Babyface used to get like $1 million to do a track. So you kind of got to gauge where you are at your skill level. You got to gauge what kind of value you think this track has for an artist, and then you have to kind of find out what your price is. So not knowing the value of your work is why a lot of producers kind of resort to lowball pricing and also free beats. You see a lot of advertisements for 15 beats for $20 or 15 beats for $1. These types of things. They don't really know what a beat is worth, so they're just hoping that somebody's enticed by a low price or no price at all into grabbing their product. So what the value that they're selling is low price. They're selling cheap. They're not selling this is an emotion that's going to drive you to write a song that's going to actually equate with what people are feeling. So they're just trying to entice you with low prices because their mindset is on the money, not the end product. Or their mindset is a lot of times on money as far as like maybe trying to get a hit and get some revenue on the back end, right? But that's not the way we can approach it. And think about it like this. When you go in a restaurant, what happens almost immediately? Like right away, sometimes even before you get in the front door, outside on the street, they'll have like a little billboard or a sign out there, and they have the food that they offer, and they have a price next to it. Most of us are still eating in restaurants where they have the prices. When you go to restaurants where they don't have a price, then you got to go in there with some money. you're going to pay. But most of the time, they're going to advertise and say, this is what the price is. And when you sit down at the table, they give you a menu. And what does the menu have? The menu has prices next to it. So they know exactly what they want to charge. They know exactly what they spent to get the food, to be able to prepare it for you. They know what the labor cost, and then they know what it's going to cost to get a profit out of that when they put it on your plate. So when you go in, you choose what you want to eat, right? You choose that based on the emotion or how you feel or how hungry you are, right? So you don't choose what you want to pay for the meal though, right? They tell you what the meal costs. You pay what they say it costs. Like most people don't go in and try to haggle like $2 off a steak or something. Like nobody's really doing that. Most people are looking at it like, okay, it's $20. Okay, I'm going to spend the $20. And then, and that's just how it goes. They don't really question it. So beat production is not different. And we have to get out of that mindset that, oh, I'm a producer, and I only produce in my bedroom, so I'm not really good enough, or my work is not good enough. So maybe that's why they don't want to pay. We got to get out of that mindset. this is your business. You're a business owner when you decide that you're selling beats and you're selling tracks to artists. So you need to know as a business owner what your items cost. It's not the artist's job to tell you what they're gonna pay. Remember, you run the restaurant. You're the one providing the food. So you know what you paid, because if you let them tell you, you're gonna be broke. You're gonna go out of business. It's already hard enough to stay in business when you're giving the prices. But you let them give the prices, they're gonna eat you out of house and home and you'll be dead. So you just have to keep in mind what it costs you to create a beat. You spend time. Your time is valuable. It's the most valuable thing you have. You spend money getting to the point where you can even make a beat sale. Some of you are paying for websites of your own. Some of you are paying for website contracts with some places like BeatStars and Airbit and those type of places as well. You're paying on a monthly basis. You're paying for maybe DistroKid or something for your distribution once a year. And there's some of those distributors that you pay every month. So you're paying for all of this stuff. So you need to kind of decide what's a reasonable cost and return on investment for what you're spending. Don't let the artist tell you that they have no money. So, because if an artist is basically telling you they have no money, then you really have to question in your mind, why are they buying beats? If you don't got $30 or $50 or whatever you're charging for your beat, they don't have that. They should really be out working for some money. Why are they at the studio, or why are they contacting you to buy beats that they don't have money for? Beats is not going to get them anywhere. They need money. So you need to go get a job and find some money and then holler at me later. So it just tells you a little bit about how they move already. So you're already seeing, if they're approaching you like that, you already seeing how they really view the business already. They don't have any business sense, could be the one thing, or they're trying to rob you. Because if you go in a restaurant and you don't have the money and you sit down and eat, and you get up and bounce, it's not free, so that this can cause a problem, right? Think about it. If something has no value, who would try to steal it? If something, you can't put a price tag on something, typically people are not going to steal it. You don't have people stealing trash in the street. No, they're looking for other things to steal. Like here in Rio, they stealing people's cell phones and all that kind of stuff right out their hand because it has value. But they're not stealing other things that don't have value. So I use this same philosophy in the studio. If you can't pay for studio time, but you try to get it for free, I know that you see the value in the studio time because you want it. The value is the level that they desire it. So if you're talking to someone, and you're trying to get something from them for free that has value, that's basically almost a form of theft. That's the way I look at it, especially as a business owner, because it's like you're trying to get my stuff that I had to pay for. You're trying to get it for free just on the sneak. And I don't like that, So as a producer, you do have value. You yourself are valuable, because these beats that are coming out of your fingertips start in your brain. So you are the one that's valuable. Your work has value. You deserve to get paid. Don't ever let anybody tell you you don't deserve to get paid. This is not some kind of afterthought. This is a fact. 1,000%, you deserve to get paid. Now, how you get paid is dependent on the value that you perceive from the artist. So now we've flipped the coin a little bit. So now you're looking at them. It's just like when you go to a job interview. Yeah, they're asking you questions to see if you want to work there, but then you need to be asking the questions and kind of being observant to find out if the vibe is right. Do you want to work there? Too. So from your end. So same thing with beats is like you have to perceive with the artist, what is this artist about? Do I even want this artist on my beats? When I hear them rap or when I hear them sing, are they really in a position to make my beat go further? So there's a couple of scenarios that I wrote down. I have like 3 scenarios that I wrote down that I have been involved with in the past, and kind of like my guideline going forward for how I view how I'm going to deal with an artist. And the first scenario is if I like the artist and I decide I want to work with them on my own time, then I might be willing to go ahead and make the investment in their career. So this may mean that they don't pay anything up front for the beats. but I'm definitely expecting to get it on the back end. So we might have some kind of paperwork agreement. If it's a real close friend or somebody that's close enough to me or whatever, we may not exactly do the paperwork, but we have an understanding. They know that I don't work for free, right? So, but this is an investment. You have to look at it like that. Okay, if I'm going to work with you and I'm like, yo, I'm going to give you some studio time, or I'm going to give you some beats to work with or whatever like that, because I want to see you move forward. I believe in your talent. In the end, I should be able to get my return on my investment more than what I put in. That's the whole name of the game. That's what an investment is. So that's one scenario. Another scenario is when an artist is at a level where they're putting out music consistently and you see it. You can go to their website or whatever, and they got releases that they've put out. You can go and you know that they've gotten on Spotify or Napster, or they've gotten on their music out on social media, and they're actively promoting it. So if they're consistently doing that, and another thing is, if you own a studio and they're recording with you, how much do they record with you? So like, I've had customers who come back over and over and over again. So I'm pretty much engineering a lot of their project, right? So if I'm engineering most of the project, I might listen to the project and say, well, I got a beat that might fit in the project as well. So, or I might produce something specifically for the project so that it fits. And then I might offer it for no upfront compensation. The value that I perceive is that I know the product is being completed, so my work should land on a released product. So that end product should come out at some point in time. So I want to be on that product, on that product. So this is a very important situation, because, the paperwork or, getting the dollars down might kind of ruin that situation a little bit, especially if they're already paying you for studio time and all that, and you're kind of offering to get on the project and they didn't ask you to. So you got to kind of gauge it like that too. That's the way that I would work that. The other scenario is the one that we don't like. This scenario is the one where you don't see any track record of completing projects. They don't have a website. They don't even have a SoundClick or nothing. They don't have very much money to record. They aren't prepared when they come to the studio, or I had people that would come drunk, or they always got a bottle in their hand or whatever when they come in, and, they drinking or whatever, they're slurring in the booth or whatever, they're wasting a lot of time, they can't get their lyrics down, they smoke more than they rap or write. These are the people that think that the studio is about smoking, that type of thing. So those are not the people that, that you want to be giving away beats to. Those people pay for beats. So until you see them turn around and be like really serious about a product and a project that they're working on, they pay for beats. So, and I don't personally, I'm not in a position financially where I feel like I even want to sell it to them. You know what I'm saying? So, because I feel like that end product has zero potential of coming out. Because number one, they can't even get on the track correctly to be put out, to be a product that I want my name on when it goes out. So you have to remember that your name is very important as well. It's as important as how your track sounds. If you're putting out artists on top of your tracks that's trash, it's not a good thing. So I'm not saying don't work with people who have potential and who are trying and who are learning and getting better. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the people that really have no business being on a record. There's a lot of those people, believe me. If you work in a studio or you've engineered, you've probably had those clients that come through that you'll take the money, but at the same time, it's like, yo, this, all you're trying to do is get them out the door because they're going to be in there just horrible in the booth. So it happens, believe me. So if any artists are even paying attention to this podcast, then this is how you get free tracks. Be about your business. Be ready to pay. And then when somebody gives you a track with no upfront cost, be kind of gracious for that. You know what I'm saying? Thank the person at least, and then, because they're making an investment in your career, right? They're investing in you. So every investment should have a return on investment or an ROI. So what that means is that you got to take care of the producer in the credits and on the split sheet. It's really not that hard. Just don't be a greedy jerk and steal the producer's work just because they're offering it. That's whack. So let's let's move on to another consideration. Another consideration is location. And I hear this a lot. Location is the excuse a lot of people use for why they need a click funnel, or why they need a sales funnel, and they don't have nobody in their area. But almost everywhere on the planet has some type of rap or hip hop scene. They got some sort of scene, even overseas. Here in Brazil, I'm in my apartment and I'm listening one night and I'm hearing the beat stop and start. And being an engineer, I know what's going on. I know somebody's recording. So, I'm like, oh, snap, somebody recording. There's somebody got a studio in here. So, and I actually ended up meeting like my neighbor across in the building next to me. Like we have an adjoining building with steps in between. Across from me, it was them recording. So I actually ended up meeting them. We might actually do a session. He was telling me like there might be a session this weekend or something that we might do. So, I might actually get to actually go into a recording session, my first one here in Brazil. But they're everywhere. There's a hip hop or a rap scene. So there's clubs or there's somewhere where artists go, they perform at. There's got to be something. I don't care if it's a county fair, but I've been to those before. I think where I went to, like the Volusia County Fair one time, and seen a rap show there too. That was crazy. that was a real crazy night, but it was really kind of funny. But we met some artists and people there too. So it actually was like Luke Skywalker's people, like an artist he had sponsored or whatever. So it was crazy. The police came and had to get like these girls off the stage and all this it was crazy. But yeah, so what I'm saying is get out and meet artists. Don't let the computer be the only way you meet artists, or your phone. Get out, give a dap to somebody, say hello. It goes a long way, because some point in time, if you like hanging around studios or whatever like that, or you get to kind of go to the studios in your area, you're going to run into them again. Or you run into them in the store, you run into them in another situation or at a performance or something like that, or at a club or something. Now you have a small platform to start launching a relationship, and you have people that you've actually shook hands with, or you've actually said, hey, yo, I like your work or whatever like that, or keep me in mind or whatever, I got beats or whatever. And they're like, yeah, they're not paying attention to you, but they know that they talked to you before, so that's really cool. Now, if you really and truly out in some cornfield somewhere and there's nobody for miles and miles around, or you live in Alaska and like all you see is white snow and ice and you can't see nobody for miles, then it might gonna be a little bit more difficult for you. So I get it. So maybe selling online is definitely going to be your bread and butter, and you don't have a lot of choice in that, but you could still build relationships online too. That's part of it. So some people will have a hybrid of that. Some people will have more of one or more of the other. But it's definitely going to be important location wise, just to kind of consider what location you're in, whether or not you really should be giving away free beats, or should you actually be, trying to develop the value in your product so people want to actually buy it. So I look at beat sales and the relationship with artists the same way I look at dating foreign women as an American. I have some experience with that. I know people that have experience with that. So the first thing you have to know is what you're worth. As an American, I bring a certain value to the table. I've learned this with time, and it's not to be arrogant or to be like, okay, America's number one, but as an American, man or woman, you have a certain value because there are a lot of people that are trying to get to the United States and live. So they look at you like that. And here in Brazil, especially in countries where there are low wages, where they view the United States as like a place with golden streets, this is how a lot of them view it. I've met a few that have said they never would want to move or leave out of Brazil. But I've met a ton of women that the first thing they're asking you is like, if you're going back to the US. They're trying to gauge if they can tag along. That's what they're trying to gauge. So I always ask up front, what is it that you want? Do you want to live in America, or you want to live in Brazil? Because I don't really have an intention of living back in America again. I live here in Brazil, but I might move on to Thailand. Do you want to live in other countries? What do you want to do? Because I might live in America at some point, but that's not really my intention right now. So I don't want to give them the false hope that I'm going to take them to America. So we bring that value to the table. You have to recognize that you have that value. Even if you're like the ugliest American dude ever, there's going to be women and men too that will do anything basically for a shot to make it to America. I literally have 2 ex-girlfriends now living in the US. 2 ex-girlfriends in the last 5 years that are living in the US who said that they didn't want to live in the US. And both of them are in the US. One of them for sure is married to a guy. And the other one, I don't know if she's married or not. I don't have any conversation or really anything with her. I kind of see her online. But maybe she is, maybe she's not. But they're living in the US when they said that that's not really what they were interested in doing. But apparently it's a lie, right? So even with asking straight up, they said no. So you have to, as a producer, you have to think that people are like this when they want something, but they feel like they got to kind of finesse you to get it. They'll lie to you. Don't feel like the artist won't lie to you, because they will lie to you. You know, so, you know, just like these women here, women in other countries. I know stories from different countries. There's an American guy that a girl here actually told me a story. One of her ex-friends actually beat this guy out of about $50,000. She told him she was so in love with him or whatever, and she was just draining his cash. You know, he's in the US, sending her money to go to school, sending her money to do this, sending her money to do that, and he lost like $50,000. And then when the money stopped, she stopped. So, stopped even contacting him or whatever. So, that's how it goes. I had a situation where I paid for a nursing program for one of my exes. I was with her for 3 years, and I was coming to Rio after she finished her classes. After a 2-year program that she was in, I paid for the whole thing, books, everything. And when I came here, she was supposed to come here and meet me in Rio, and she bounced to America. And I just found out like she's in America too. So they'll go with anybody who's willing to take them. A lot of these women, and some of them are beautiful, women or whatever like that, and they'll attach to this guy, and you'll look at them and you go like, there's no way in the world like this guy's gonna be able to keep this woman. Like, he's 60 years old, she's like 20, and she's super attractive or whatever, and she's gassing him up thinking like he's doing it big. And then boom, when she gets to America, once she gets established and once she figures out how to make her way around, once she learns the language, because half of them don't even know English, they start learning the language or whatever, and then all of a sudden, boom, they bounce. It happened to a guy that brought a woman, I think she was from Colombia, and he was like that. He was like in his 50s or whatever. She's like in her early 20s, body crazy, she's beautiful, and just out of his league. You look at the situation, it's just out of his league, but he's really invested in her because he's looking at it like this is his trophy. Like, he can't even believe that she's with him or whatever. So he married her or whatever, brought her to the United States. As soon as she got here, or got to the United States, she, I think she was a hairstylist or something. She was working in a hair salon or owned a hair salon or something like that in the US. And she started messing with other dudes and bounced on him. And he went in the salon and he shot and killed her because he didn't recognize that this was a game she's playing. So producers and artists kind of have that same situation where there's a lot of artists that will try to do you dirty. Not every artist, but there's a lot of artists, if you don't really have a relationship with them, that will look at you as just like, okay, I can fool this guy into giving me, or this girl into giving me some beats. And then, I'll rap on the beats or whatever. I'm never going to pay them. That's their mindset. I've dealt with a lot of people like that, and I never give them anything. Like, you got to pay for your studio time. If you don't pay, you don't come back. And that was hard for a lot of them because their friends, all of my business really was word of mouth. So people were really kind of not wanting to screw it up because they know that somebody else introduced them. So most people kept it tight, but there are people that will come in and not pay and stuff like that. It becomes a problem, So it's the same way, it's the same way in the music business. Producers will lose hope. They lose money, just like these dudes lose hope and money with these girls. What I say is, especially in a relationship, I've learned. I've been married, divorced, all of that. So I kind of have an understanding of how these things work. So for me, I have some rules. I have 2 rules, basically. Number 1, always hold the eject button. Whether you're a producer or whether you're in a relationship, always hold the eject button. So if at any cost you can hold it, hold it. So that means that if anything goes wrong, you can eject that person from the situation, right? So if it means having your paperwork correct, you have your paperwork correct. if it means you having your own house or your own apartment and the girl living somewhere else, or the girl having to live with you instead of you living with her, do that, because you got the eject button. When she leaves or when the artist leaves, you comfortable in your situation. You keep it like that. If you can't hold the eject button, buy a parachute. So, that's all I'm saying. That's the second rule. You gotta have a parachute, because if you don't have the parachute, how you gonna land? You're gonna land hard. You know what I'm saying? So those are the two rules. And I look at it like that. The same thing with artists. If you're not really holding the cards with the artist, make sure that the paperwork or something is your parachute on the back end, where you can actually, register the music maybe with your PRO or whatever, and get the back end revenue that you're supposed to get, at least some of it, so that you're getting something from it. So just remember, people will lie, they will connive to get what they want. And in the end, the producer is going to have nothing, because the artist doesn't value the producer and won't even look out for you. So don't think they're going to look out for you. Thinking that you're going to give them a track and they're going to roll out and and do something, great on the track or whatever, and then you're going to get paid on the back end. That's like letting somebody steal your car and hoping they bring it back. Like that don't make no sense. That's not going to work, right? So, if they see the value of the track, they're going to pay you for it. They need to bring money to the table, just like they do when they go to a restaurant. When they go to Burger King, they pay up front, right? Or they go to Wendy's and I don't even know, do they still have the 4 for $4 in America? Like, they know what a 4 for $4 costs, because it's 4 for $4. So they know they got to have $4. They don't go in there with $3.50. They know they got to have $4, right? So, they're going to stick you on the back end if you don't make them pay up front. Half the time, if they don't have it up front, they ain't going to have it on the back end. And 9 times out of 10, if they don't really have a few dollars to give you for the beat, they're not going to put it out anyway. So you're still going to get screwed on the back end. It's not worth your time. Wait and work with an artist that's working. Get out and work with artists that put music out. So lastly, another thing that we want to consider is the financial situation. Like, your financial situation, everybody's situation is going to be different. So that's going to tell you if you can even afford to work for free. If you have another income, you can consider giving away the beat, but really only the worthy artists, right? Artists who are going to put something out. Don't shortchange yourself, though. It might take forever to sell your first beat, but uphold the standards of the game. What I see right now is a lot of desperate producers just giving away everything, hoping that they get lucky, and it's killing the game for the people that deserve to get paid. Because now artists are like, well, such and such gives away free beats. I mean, it don't matter if dude's beats is whack or dude's beats are crap, or he's only got 10 whole hours in the game, and now that he's already got a BeatStars. Like, what I'm saying? They're just looking at it like, price wise, I know I can get free beats, and it's that desperation that's killing the game for everybody. You get money for these. Like, my friend, I'm not gonna say his name, but my friend did some work, production or whatever like that, got paid $7,500 to get on a mixtape. And I looked and I saw somebody on Twitter or something last week talking about, oh, your beat was on a mixtape, you don't get paid for that. Man, I know somebody got paid $7,500 for a mixtape. And then that song got put on an album, and he got the highest points you get for an artist that's not signed, like a producer that's not signed. He got his points, he got everything. So, and he got the $7,500 again. So he made like $15,000 off that one beat. And then he did more work because the artist himself was a good businessman. He took care of the people that work for him and that do beats for him. He was just a good artist. He does good business. So, you don't want to get caught up in the game and just caught up because somebody wants to catch you up in it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm kind of going to get ready to get out of here. We're pushing about 30 some odd minutes right now, but I'm still looking for producers. I'm looking for about 4 producers right now to send out the questions for the interview segment. So I have a couple that I think I want to send invitations to already. I do have some requirements for consideration. You do need a mic and a DAW to record your answers so that it's clear. In a quiet space, of course, so that, our listeners aren't bombarded with a lot of background noise, or at least that it's kind of upfront. You don't have to do a whole lot of processing to it, just as long as the volume is decent. It doesn't have to be zeroed out or limited or anything like that. I really prefer not to, because I'm going to go ahead and put it in the system and chop it up anyway. So really, that's it. Just a mic and a DAW. And then the other thing is, I need you to have some years of production work. I think anything less than 5 years is not enough experience, not to be on the show coaching other producers. It takes about 10,000 hours to learn a craft. That's kind of the number that's put out. So you may be a great producer, you might be sounding good or whatever like that, but I want people who have been in the game for a little bit. Maybe 5 years or more is kind of where I'm putting it, because those people are the ones who have been through a lot of changes. Even changes just in technology, they have knowledge for that. They have changes in how beats have been sold over the years and the platforms that have come out. A few years ago, there was no BeatStars. A few years ago, maybe there wasn't a SoundGen or even a SoundClick. Or years ago there was a CD Baby, but I think that's kind of changed too. Like the way we used to put things on CD Baby was with like actual CDs. So, and I think I wonder if I think we had to send them the CDs too, or something like that. We had to package it ourselves or something. So, so there's those changes that happen in the history of recording is important, just as important as the beats that come out today. It's the history of how we kind of got here. Those are the insights that the producers can give us on the podcast, and that's what I'm looking for. So thanks for tuning in. Once again, this is Knock Rio, and this has been the Producer Review Podcast, Episode 3. Look for ILI Music Group on IG and YouTube, and hit the subscribe button if you can. Thank you for tuning in. See you later. Bye.